Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Troy Show. It was probably about 4 years ago that I sat in a small classroom at our church small group time and discussed a topic that people don't want to talk about. I soon learned that even in our small group of people, in our small group, it's called small group, but in our little group of people in our little class, I talked about what was going on at the time. And what was going on during this time, about 4 years ago, was the controversy over whether the mosque should have been built down the street or close to the World Trade Center. Some people said it should not have been even a controversy because they felt like it shouldn't be built there because a lot of people believed that it was just the Muslims planting their flag of victory right there, claiming that land for Allah. And a lot of people were offended by that. And I can understand that. And there was a lot of people who thought that there should be no issue. It's a free country, especially here in our country. It's a free country, and if you want to build a church, a mosque, a covenant, whatever you want to build, you put it wherever you want to. That's the beauty of our country. You have the freedom to do that. And so a lot of people believe that. But it was during this time that there was the controversy of whether that should be allowed, and there was the controversy over the crazy preacher who decided, instead of having a picnic or maybe some kind of retreat, he would have a Sunday Quran burning. So that was going on. So it was just all these childish games, it seemed like. And so I asked the question in our small group, in this type of world where Muslims, radical, insane, killing Muslims, are calling for the lives of Christians. They want Christians dead. In a world where Christians, crazy Christians, think it's okay and righteous and right to burn the holy book of the Muslims. In this world, how should a Christian respond? And that was the question I asked. How should a Christian respond in that? Now, it didn't go quite the way I hoped it would go, because there was a lot of people who used it to kind of speak politically, to talk about how the Muslims are killing Christians and how left-wing people want this and how right-wing people want this, and Democrats have failed and Republicans have failed. On and on and on it went. And so I tried several times to bring it back, but I could not. And so that's how the discussion ended up going. And I got pulled aside afterwards, and I was told basically that I was a racist for talking about it. I just wanted to know how we as Christians should respond, because there is craziness out there. There is. Even back then, 4 years ago, there was craziness. If you remember, it was a group of radical, insane Muslims who flew planes into buildings, killing 3,000 people. Should we ignore that? All in the name of religion. The Christians who wanted to burn the Quran in the name of religion. How should we respond to this? Should we ignore it? Should we not say anything about it? Should we pretend like it doesn't exist? Or should we continue to fight battles that are just plain stupid? Because, believe it or not, there are battles right now that are stupid. For instance, The war on women. I cannot stand this nonsense. Okay, let me preface by saying this. I am a man. I am a male. I am a male of the human species. And I have never been a woman. I don't know how a woman feels. Okay. But in my experience, 37 years of life experience, I have seen occasionally men who were sexist who said sexist things. I have not witnessed any woman being held back for any reason. Now, again, that is my life experience. That is only my experience. Yours may be different. You may be a woman who has experienced being held back. I have not. I don't see it. We have a woman running for president. We have women, Nancy Pelosi in Congress. We have women all over the place in leadership all over the country. And these women are claiming there's a war on women, that women are being held back. The hypocrisy is insane, and it's so transparent. Can you not see it? So what is the war on women? Well, apparently there's a website, the Daily Kos, who does a week in the war on women. This is from May 16th. Here is their definition. Here is what's going on this week in the war on women. On the home front, reproductive rights. Okay, so that's part of the war. Reproductive rights. Should we pass laws making it legal or illegal for a woman to have an abortion? And that all depends on what your view of life is. Should you have an abortion? Should you not have an abortion? So that's considered the war on women. Deciding whether or not they should kill a baby. That's the war on women. Another part of this war on women, here is a section, Other Issues. Here is a very thoughtful look at some of Hillary Clinton's past problems with intersecting groups, especially women of color and poor women, and good advice for her that could mitigate these concerns. Women who work in nail salons. Now, if this is not huge in this war, I don't know what is, because I will fight for these women who work in nail salons. This author says that women who work in nail salons, often immigrant women, face serious health hazards from chemicals used in their work. And she gives a petition that you can sign for the EPA to regulate these salons. Yes, that's what we need, is for the government to come in and regulate something else. Hulu and Google are refusing to air pro-abortion ads more against women. Now, I've always thought that the reason women are at the center of the discussion on abortion is because, I don't know, but women seem to be the ones that have babies. I've never seen a case where a man was at the center of the abortion talk. Maybe because he doesn't have the baby. It's the woman. I've had 3 kids. My wife, sorry, Lori. My wife has had 3 kids. I've seen every single one of them being born. I was not the one birthing them. My wife was. I saw it. It was beautiful. Now, whenever a man says it's the most beautiful thing in the world, he's lying. It's not beautiful. Okay? It's gross. It's very, very gross. And I would not recommend trying to eat anything while watching this. But the reason it's against women, this discussion, the reason why women are in the center of this discussion is not because there's a war on women. It's because women are the ones who have babies. So that's the war on women, refusing to air pro-abortion ads, Hulu and Google. And in California, it's official. A court has found that abstinence-only sex education does not meet the state standards for medically accurate sexual education. So all of these are considered parts of the war on women. But is this should we focus on this? Should we be concerned? Is this what we should talk about in our life? Because I don't view people this way. I don't view people based on sex or color or whatever whether they're rich or poor. I don't view people in those terms. I view them as people. And I live my life based on Galatians 3, for you are all children of God. Verse 28, there is no longer Jew or Gentile. There's no longer slave or free. They are no longer male or female. This is what a lot of people should be glad about. We don't want to put people in categories. And this is what the gospel talks about. There is no longer male or female, slave or free. We're all one. We belong to Christ. We are all one. And so I don't believe, based on what is going on in the world, these petty arguments that we have, I have in my peer group, there's a girl who considers herself a Christian feminist. I have no idea what that means. But she's constantly fighting these battles. She's constantly posting on Facebook all of these articles about women and women being held back and all these kind of social justice type things. I don't see people in that way. And so I don't believe that there's a war on blacks. I don't believe there is a war on women. I don't believe there is a war on Mexicans. Our country is one of the best countries in the world, and we are spoiled compared to the lives of other people. Here's an article. Dear North American Church, go ahead. Wave to a 9-year-old kid today. By the way, my daughter is 9 years old. She will be 9 years old. Sit on the edge of her bed and just watch. Just watch your 9-year-old while she sleeps. Then sit with a 9-year-old girl on the floor of a shipping container in the middle of northern Iraq, and her mother will tell you that girls here don't smile like they used to. They don't laugh here like she remembers. Is there a war on women there? Maybe there is a war on women there. Except there aren't many 9-year-olds, girls here. Among these families displaced and fleeing from ISIS, there are 5-year-olds, 7-year-olds, but I looked for them. There are no 9-year-olds. 9-year-old Yazidi and Christian girls can show up in headlines: impregnated, held, taken, violated, and discarded, sides round and swollen, sent back to shame their communities. Pregnant little girls with dolls still in their hands while we are having our Wheaties and reading the day's news. While we are talking about whether a woman should have an abortion or have the right to have an abortion. Whether we are talking about whether a woman is getting paid less or not getting paid less. While Hillary Clinton and all of these women in the government are making hundreds of thousands of dollars for an hour of speaking. We're talking about women's rights in our country. 9-year-old girls are fleeing with their families from ISIS. You can click away. Turn the other way if you want. But those girls are wild to turn and escape, and they can't. They are categorized, stripped, and shipped naked, examined and distributed, sold and passed around like meat, livestock. You can walk into any mall and buy a pair of Nike running shoes for what they are buying a Christian or Yazidi girl from 1 to 9 years of age. $172. And she's all yours for whatever you want, for as long as you want, to make do whatever you want. Sit with that. Yeah, we're all done living in a world where a pair of shoes can last longer, have more worth, be treated with more value than a fondled, raped, and discarded 9-year-old girl. Do we still need to talk about abortion here? Do we still need to talk about pay raises for women here? Do we still need to talk about whether Google or Hulu will air pro-abortion videos? The United Nations reports this week that at least one young girl's been married over 20 times and forced at the end of each violation to undergo surgery to restore her virginity. so it could be ripped open and destroyed by the next highest bidder. Look, we're all done with keeping up with the Kardashians or whatever flash of skin is being flaunted on red carpets when there are little girls being devoured on bare concrete floors, and we will keep company with Jesus and be the ones who do something about the things that break his heart. The author continues, I sit with 4 Yazidi mothers in a shipping container where they sleep. They need someone to have enough courage to not turn away. That is us. Suzanne holds a swaddled baby in her lap on the floor. No furniture, no beds, no running water in a shipping container. They relieve themselves in the muddy grass out behind. She leans forward and whispers to me, our life was normal before. Our children went to school. Our families had homes. We worked hard. ISIS takes everything. ISIS destroys our homes. We lose everything. Now we've had to run here for our lives. We don't speak the language here. We have nothing here. Our children can't go to school here. Our children wake with nightmares here about everything that happened here. Suzanne, Marwa, Leela, these mothers sitting here, not one of these mothers were ever allowed to go to school because they were girls. Now, they weren't allowed to go to school because they were girls. If you were to talk to any of these women who are mothers who are caring for their 9-year-old girls, who at any moment could lose their children because some crazy, wild, killing religious person will come into their house and say, give me your children or die. Do you think it's even rational to talk to them? You know what? I understand that they're killing your children, but you know what? In our country, they won't let us have abortions. They say it's illegal. Can you believe that? I can't even imagine having that kind of a conversation. What would their reaction to you be? Are you an idiot? They have to think that. But to be honest, I bet they probably wouldn't even understand. They would probably look at you and say, you feel like that is a problem? That you can't have an abortion? At every corner, at every turn, at every sharp and invisible point, waiting for somebody to stand up and say, not on our watch. We could hear the gunfights with ISIS all around us for hours. Suzanne uses her hands to tell me this. She pulls one of her children on the floor closer to her. If we didn't go, we will die. We are very afraid we will die. We run in the middle of the night with our children up Sinjar Mountain to try to escape ISIS. Suzanne straightens the scarf around her head. She points to her sister Leela sitting on the ground beside me. ISIS shot her husband. Then they shot her son. I searched Leela's eyes, her face deeply lined, longing. Killed them. Who has neat categories for this? I have no categories for this. I have no categories for what to say when you're looking into the eyes of a woman whose man she loved was blown apart by a bullet from ISIS. I can only find Leela's hand. She laces her fingers through mine and holds on like we're sisters, and we don't let go, and we won't let go, and we won't turn away. Her daughter, Sarah, her one eye clouded with this murky gray cancerous tumor, curls on her lap, clings. She's not 9 years old yet. You can read what the UN reports. You want to talk about the war on women. According to the UN, sexual violence is not only used to satisfy promises made to ISIS fighters, but also as a means to humiliate dissenters, draw intelligence information, and dismantle traditional familial and social norms so that the structure of a new caliphate could be formed. That is the real war on women. I couldn't even imagine holding on to my not yet 9-year-old little girl with any worry at all that at any moment some wild man bursts through my door demanding that I give her up, or I die and my whole family will die. I read a story recently of a nationally known television and radio host was reached out to by a Jewish monk in Iraq. I believe it was Iraq. But he reached out saying that ISIS had come to his house, and he demanded that him and his family reject his religion, that they accept Islam. And he said you had 24 hours to make the decision. So he emailed this radio and television host, and he said, what should I do? What do I do? I don't want my family to die. I don't want to die. How should I respond to this? This man was counseled by other religious leaders and said, God will forgive this. If you deny your religion, God will forgive this, because this is a situation that is just too large. The next day, ISIS comes back as promised. But they don't talk to the father. They talk to his children. And they say, do you renounce your religion, and do you accept Islam as your religion? They said no. They killed all of their children. They didn't talk to the dad. The dad, all he could do was sit and watch as these wild men come in and kill his children. You want to talk about a war? Our country is so spoiled. We are so concerned with a minimum wage. We are so concerned about making sure that somebody's feelings don't get hurt. We are so concerned to make sure that if someone wants to have a same-sex marriage, that somebody who doesn't necessarily want to do a cake for them, we have to make sure that they do it. Otherwise, the gay couple, their feelings will be hurt. We can't afford that. We have to make sure everybody is protected. And now there's the whole thing with police, saying that you can't trust the police, that the police are acting stupidly, that the police are going insane now, that the police are after the young black man. All of a sudden, the police are going after the young black man. And women are upset because they can't have free abortions, or they can't have reproductive rights, or they can't have equal rights, or whatever it is that's being argued about. We bend over to make sure everybody in our country is free from having their feelings hurt. It's insane. When I first moved to Georgia, my wife and I didn't know if we were going to stay around too long. We were looking for youth ministry jobs. I was fresh out of college with a degree in Bible and youth ministry. And I felt my calling was to go to youth ministry. That's what I felt like I was supposed to do. I believed in my heart that's what I was supposed to do. Studied for it. Was ready for it. Came to Atlanta. My wife was already working here. So it came time for us to look for a place to rent. And we called a person who had a house that was close by to where my wife was working. And we called them. And in the newspaper, this house had you had to commit for a year. You had to commit to live there for at least a year. We didn't know if we were going to live there that long. We thought maybe 6 months. So I called the person. Very nice man at first. And I told him the situation. I said, we're here now. We need to buy a house, or we need to rent a place, and we're only going to be here about 6 months or so, possibly, because we're looking for youth ministry jobs, and we don't know how long we'll be here. And I was interrupted by this man. he stopped me and he said, "You're Christians?" I said, "Yes, sir." He said, "I don't do business with Christians," and he hung up. Now, based on the culture today, I could have called the ACLU. I could have called Al Sharpton. I could have called a ton of different people. CNN, MSNBC, Fox News. I could have called all these people and I could say, hey, I was discriminated. He won't rent me a house because I'm a Christian. And maybe the reaction would have been the same as it is now. Maybe hell would have opened up on this man and destroyed his life. I don't know. Maybe I would have gotten laughed at. But in this culture, if something like that happens, if a minority person calls somebody else and says anything, "Can I rent a house?" "No, I don't rent to insert group." The gates of hell would open up and fire would destroy that person. Because we don't want to hurt people's feelings. I'll tell you what, my feelings were hurt. That had never happened to me before. But I looked at my wife looked at me. We were shocked and surprised and hurt. And you know what we did? We said, well, I guess we got to find somewhere else. Done. That's it. So this war on women, this war on young black men, this war on Hispanics, this war on this or that, there is a bigger picture. There is a world out there where young 9-year-old girls are being sold into sex slavery for ISIS soldiers, for their pleasure, for their comfort, to do what they wish and then discard these children. And we're more concerned about the stupid things that we look at now in the news. I'm so tired of it. I cannot. It is so transparent. Do you not understand what they're doing? These are politicians who are trying to get your vote. And they're trying to manipulate you. They're trying to make you believe a certain thing so that they can earn your votes. And it's working. It's working. Guys, there is no slave. There is no free. There is no male. There's no female. We are all one. Whether you are a believer or not, we are all one. Now, I'm not going to go all Woodstocky here, and I'm not going to sing a song and put little flower petals in my hair or whatever, but we have to be real about this. When my friend 5 years ago called me a racist because I dared to mention Islam in our class, well, I mean, why even get upset about that? I mean, look around us. Look around you. If you're gay, try to go to Iraq right now. If you're a woman, try to go to Iraq right now. There are teenage girls trying to become a part of ISIS, and then they plead with them to let them come back here because they're sexually abused and they're impregnated and then they're tossed around like a doll. And we act like we have so many concerns here in our country. We are so incredibly blessed. I would love to know your thoughts on these things. So if you get a chance, please leave me a voicemail, 707-874-TROY. Go to facebook.com/The Troy Show. Twitter, Troy O Show. Guys, I appreciate you so much. Thank you for listening. Thank you for downloading the show. And when somebody asks, hey, what is this? What is this great, incredible show you're listening to? You know, when you're blasting it at work or in your car, jamming it in your boombox, on your shoulder, walking down the street with your tape recorder. You remember tape recorders? Or in your Walkman. You can say, I'll tell you what this is. Let me tell you what this is.
is destroyed.